How's it going, everybody? Got a few people on the call here, some people trickling in. How you doing, Bob? Yeah, uh-oh, we got some audio issues here.
Helps if I unmute. Is that better?
There you go. How are you doing? It's good.
Uh,
Looks we
Good.
got a couple people trickling in here. We got another one in there. Yeah. Gotta figure out a way where I can have my team like click the buttons while I do the talking. So glad to have you on this Zoom call webinar. It's kind of weird. I see you in person all the time, not digitally, so it's kind of a different dynamic, right?
There you go.
Yeah. Um, Really quick, this is the Bright Rudder Marketing webinar, Zoom series, podcast, whatever you want to call it. We try to host these every month, and kind of moving forward, I want to try to bring people on the show, bring people here, industry experts, aviation experts. Um, Guest star today is Robert Meter. He's really kind of close to me. He's actually my CFI, so he taught me how to fly through the clouds and all that, and probably got to get another lesson scheduled to go to get
Yeah, we will.
going. um, but besides just being a CFI, he has a lot of things in his background that really warrants a conversation as far as what he did in this past and how he got there. From what I just doing ground with you, doing the ground lessons and talking with you, you've talked a little bit about kind of NAFI, National Association of Flight Instructors, your involvement, the fast safety team as well. You were also working with, I think, in the past, Union Pacific as director of safety, if I get that right.
As a
Um,
director of the safety department, yep.
and I think you also, when you said you're doing this, it's Union Pacific, the railroad, and then you kind of helped also push legislation with like drones and stuff like that. So a lot of,
Regulation. Yeah.
I don't know, it's kind of just what I hear from you, and I'm like, it's really cool. So, um, you know, I can't really give you the best intro here, but maybe you can kind of show everybody here on the call just a little bit about your background, how you came into the aviation industry, how you came into this world, and I guess where you start from the bottom, and then how you got to the top.
Well, I don't want to do a Ted Baxter for those of you who remember the Mary Tyler Moore show and say it all started at a 25-watt radio station. But um, I came into aviation by way of liking to fly. My first flight ever was as a 9-year-old kid, 10-year-old kid, flying from O'Hare to Frankfurt on a Lufthansa 707 and just being enthralled by it. Just really great. Well, life happened, a lot of things happened, and I wound up working in the rail industry. Wound up as a fairly senior manager. Really enjoyed that. Very, very fortunate. It was a great career, 40 years playing trains. And worked my way up. As I say, I retired as a director in the safety department. Did some fun stuff along the way. The fun meter is always around 85%. There's no perfect day in the corporate world. There's always something that makes you angry, frustrates you, makes you a little nuts. But in general, it was a good career. It was a lot of fun, and it informed a lot of the safety stuff that I do in my life. Um, the aviation side came about because I'd always wanted to fly, and I like trains and I like airplanes, or I like airplanes and I like trains. Either way you want to look at it. I'm very, very fortunate that I've done what I've done. And so I went out and took an introductory lesson one day when I found out that my classes were not a deciding factor. Somebody educated me on that. Wound up joining a really good flying club in the Chicago area. And I'll give them a shout out, Stick and Rudder Flying Club at Waukegan Regional. And then just kept flying. And one day I looked up and I don't know how it happened, but I was a multi-engine flight instructor. So, and having a lot of fun. And I've discovered that probably the thing I like the most in aviation is teaching other people to fly. I've met a lot of good friends like you, Tim. Been very, very fortunate. And yeah, I mean, that's the best way I can say it. I'm trying to embellish it, and there really is no embellishment. I'm just very, very fortunate. I've had a lot of fun along the way, and I've met a lot of wonderful people.
Yeah. I think that's kind of shared with all pilots, this passion for aviation, the love of flight. It's just something, even before we became pilots, even just flying maybe commercially or just looking up in the sky and you kind of see something and something in our brains just go like, hey, we should do that. Let's try, let's
Yeah.
go for it. And a lot of people don't pull the trigger. A lot of people don't even call the flight school and do it. And I think it takes a little bit of courage to do it. And I think one of the things that I do as a marketing agency is really try to lower that kind of barrier. Really try to encourage people to come to aviation because it's such a I think a lot of people from the outside they look at people like us in the industry, they kind of say like, oh, I could never do that, I could never do that. So it's something that was holds dear in my heart. I make a living off of this as well. Bringing people into aviation, maybe not in the instructor sense, but definitely helping flight schools all over. One of the reasons I brought you in the call today, Bob, was you know, I, I go to the trade shows, I go to the conferences, and I see NAFI all the time there. So NAFI's Karen is always out there, and she's always promoting NAFI, and even when I'm training with you, flying with you, you talk a little bit about NAFI sometimes, and I think it's evolved a lot since when you first kind of were in there, right? I don't really know the full story. Maybe you can kind of elaborate. Um, Tell us a little bit about NAFI. I mean, National Association of Flight Instructors, how it came to being, what was kind of your role in that part.
Okay.
Yeah, just kind of walk us through.
National Association of Flight Instructors was founded in 1967 by Jack Expealer. The purpose was and is to raise professionalism in the flight instruction community. Our current mission is to improve safety in aviation by improving instructors. We're very proud of the growth we've enjoyed in the past few years. We're up around, we have a board meeting tonight. I have to have the numbers ready, but we're somewhere around 7,700 paying members, dues paying members. Very proud of that number. You don't have to be a flight instructor to be a member, by the way. If you ever want to find out what we're saying behind your backs as a pilot, come on in and join us. But more seriously, we have a lot of great material that we use to teach people. As I said, our mission is to help make aviation safer through helping instructors be better at what they do, because the instructor is the first point of contact. How it's changed or evolved, I think over the years, let's see, it's 14 years, I'd say, we really emphasized interacting with the instructor community more and with the various agencies and the other alphabet groups in aviation far more than we did in the past. And so we worked really hard to be good partners with everybody and to promote the message of safety. We are particularly proud. We just had a great webinar last night, Mentor Live, which is our give back to the industry. Last night, Nathan talked about what students should be aware and what flight instructors should be aware of when students freeze on the controls. And also, he made it relevant to all pilots, whether you have a passenger that grabs the controls and so on. It's a great talk. That's the third Wednesday of every month. Next month, we're going to have two, one on mental health. That'll be on April 3rd, I believe, if I remember the date right, if that's the Wednesday, I believe. And then the next one will be case studies in aviation. So there's that. We have the Professional Development Center for our members. It goes through everything that you didn't learn as you were becoming a CFI. How to run a business, how to relate to people, what is professionalism? I mean, we all talk about professionalism, but it's hard to define. So we talk about what is professionalism in those classes. There's 30 classes put together by volunteers. And of course, we have our media content. The magazine is put together by members for members. We're very proud of that. And there's, our sponsors believe in what we do. So we've got a lot of great benefits for our membership, So that's it in a nutshell. Again, great organization, I think. I know it's a great organization. And for everybody on the call who is not a member, please consider joining it. It only hurts for a minute. It's only a couple of bucks.
So your role in NAFI, I know there's like Paul and all them and Karen. I think Karen's the current chairwoman,
chair.
right? But you were previously the chairman?
I'm chair emeritus. I was chair for 9 years.
9 years. And then when you first started, I think you kind of told people, or you told me at least, like it was a lot smaller, right? It was a lot smaller back then. I guess what techniques did you guys do? I'm kind of make a pivot to the marketing aspect of it,
Yeah, I get
it. What things did you do to really grow it? It's 7,600 members. It's 7,600 CFIs in America. It's a pretty good size pool of people there. What things did you do to really, when you were chair, to really grow your organization? Because I think as business owners, I'm a business owner, and a lot of people on the call are also business owners. That's one thing we struggle with is, growing and scaling our business. And it doesn't matter if it's, an association or an organization or, a business. I think there's a lot of key like leadership principles in marketing, sales, just getting the word out. Those types of, I guess, concepts and skills are kind of required, regardless of the vertical.
All right. I think it's a great question, and some of it was by guess and by gosh. There's no two ways around it. Number one, we worked on outreach to our membership. John Niehaus has done a tremendous job with the podcasts. When I became chair, the Mentor Live came out of what I call chairman talks, and I took the inspiration for that from the CEO of the Union Pacific at the time, Mr. Young, where he would quarterly get on and talk to the employees and field questions, unedited questions. Sometimes questions he didn't want to answer, but he had to because he committed to it. So it was trying to open the lanes of communication to the membership. Then finding out what they really wanted, or trying to find out what was relevant, what is important, and then showing that we were actively engaging with, in particular, the FAA in a positive way, not adversarial. We don't always agree with the FAA. Let me make sure that's clear. We don't always agree with what the FAA has to say, and we certainly make comments on rulemaking, but it's a positive engagement. They respect us, we respect them, and the membership sees that, and that they see that that's important. So they see that role. We also, the other thing is that we started emphasizing you're the key to safety amongst the members. Again, what hits home for a CFI? What's in it for them? Well, the in it for them is ensuring, in my opinion, that for those CFIs that are not, I have to be really careful here because I don't want to put down people by accident, but for those CFIs that are into the business because they care about teaching, the in it for them is not just the money, although that, livelihood is important. The realization that we have to teach people how to fly correctly. And so we made sure that we were talking about how to promote safety, how to promote good flying habits. These are the skills that you need to be a better instructor. And that is that people have seen that and have responded to that. So and it was a long-term goal. And in addition, we made sure our benefits were relevant to the membership. Some things worked, some of the sponsorships have worked, some of them we were surprised we weren't getting any traction at all on them. But a lot of the sponsorships and the help we get from our industry partners have direct benefit to the CFI's pocket. So all of those pieces pull together. It's really focusing on the membership desires and wants and what they need. That's what really did it. And again, making sure that we weren't preaching to the choir or talking to ourselves inside the organization, that we were reaching out to other people and occasionally taking a risk. Spending, we took recently, we did last year, you were at it, we did the NAFI Summit. It wasn't cheap. Okay, I'm not going to disclose numbers, but it was not inexpensive, and we had to get sponsorship to help make it work. And we were worried that we were going to look up and see only 5 people there. Now we had a great turnout, which was and people said they're going to bring more people next year when we do it again. So, but we knew internally that this could either be really a great success, or we're never ever going to do this again, and being willing to take that chance.
Yeah,
And
I
as I
think,
said, it worked out well.
yeah, it's definitely one of the traits I think of business leaders, organization leaders too. It's really, they're not risk averse, but at the same time, you're able to take calculated risk. You need
Yeah,
to know your limits, but you also need to know that you can't just stay kind of complacent. You have to kind of put yourself out there, get out your comfort zone, and really
right,
attack the problem. Put the investment in, whether it's
right.
hosting an event or expanding and some pivoting and all that stuff. Yeah.
And to give credit where it's due, it was Karen that took the risk. I wanted to do it. My big risk was putting together giving Rick Todd the opportunity to put together the Pilot Proficiency Center, or excuse me, wrong thing. That's an EA, the Professional Development Center, our big tent at Oshkosh. That was my big risk. I wanted to do I personally wanted to do a summit, but I couldn't quite figure out how to pull it together. And it was time for somebody else to take the reins of the organization. And Karen, give credit where it's due. Karen really did a great job. She like I nudged my board at the time into doing the professional development center. She nudged us into taking the chance with Summit.
Yeah. Yeah, the summit was great, by the way. So all the flight instructors, all the CFIs, all the flight school owners here, if you haven't heard of NAFI, this is a great, Bob's already been talking about for a few minutes just about NAFI, their programs, pilot development. We had a few people join in here. And really they do this every year now. So this I don't know. I don't think they set the date yet for 2024, but we gather all the CFIs together and
I can tell you that internally we've set a date. We're not ready to publish it because we're well, it's one of those, you set a date, you're absolutely committed. We're dotting the last I's before we're going to announce a date. But we have internally set a date, and you won't be surprised at the date. Yeah. Fair enough?
Yeah, I should. I'm not gonna pry too much.
Don't
like
push
October, November, or somewhere. Yeah, I'm just kind of going off my past experience.
Yeah, I don't want to make a premature announcement, but I will say that we really want to do it again, and we're pulling together the last pieces so we can make an announcement.
So we're going to bring back to some of the things you said earlier that we kind of skipped over. I think you have this really big theme about safety. And even especially in my ground talks with you, when we do training, we're always, safety is always first, right? And I think any goal of any flight school owner, any goal of any CFI is really 0 accidents. We want to decrease that rate. Aviation's probably is the safest mode of transportation, based on relative statistics and all that. But there's still that perceived safety, especially with the recent news, and we can get into that later about the whole, I guess, Boeing and everything. But talk to me a little bit about when as instructors, how do we reduce the amount of safety incidents, incursions, accidents?
How do we reduce? Okay, wow. Yeah.
Throw you a big lofty one over here.
Wow, this is, kind of the joke, this is a dark joke, and bear with me for a second. I've used this in various committee meetings, and I've said, you want to have 0 fatalities, have 0 accidents. It's real simple. It's just funny how that follows. Now, okay, fine. That statistically, we're asking a whole heck of a lot of people in a long time. However, at the same time, every action depends on every individual. The way I would recommend a school or an individual flight instructor to say, today's not the day. We're not going to have an accident. Start out that way. We're not going to have an accident. We will do what it takes to not have an accident. And remind yourself that we have a moral obligation, not a legal obligation. Everybody worries about liability, insurance, and legal. That's all just markers to define morality. Okay, that's cash put on morality. We have a moral obligation to protect our students. Okay, we have, I mean, I gave a talk on this at Summit, and I'm going to give it again at Sun and Fun. It is really critical that we understand that we're putting people in a situation, as John King puts it, we have to move at lethal speeds to achieve aviation. We aren't designed for much more than a 10 mile an hour impact. We're sacks of water. Okay, that's what human beings are, as somebody once put it. Mm-hmm. So we have to understand that what we do can put people at risk if it's not done properly. So you say to yourself, you commit as a school, as an instructor, we're not going to have an accident. And if you ask yourself the question, is this a good idea? Whatever this is a good, you can hear the capital letters as I say it. If you hear yourself asking, is this a good idea? You've already made a decision. Act upon it. Mm-hmm. For example, you walk out to the airplane. I'll make up a really ridiculous example. You walk out to the airplane and you see half the cowl screws are missing because somebody stole them to put them on their airplane. I don't know what happened to them, but they're missing. Mm-hmm. And you go, well, gee, we're going to lose a revenue flight. It's not going to work today. Oh, man, well, you know, the cowling might stay on. As soon as you said that, it's time to stop flying. Now, I took an over-the-top example on purpose to illustrate the problem. If you are thinking about a negative consequence of something to the point where you're saying this might not be right, it isn't right. Take the time. For those people who are worried about the revenue in running a flight school, what's cheaper? Let's forget morality. Let's talk about what's cheaper. Is it cheaper to ground the airplane and say, this isn't going to work today. Let's get this, whatever it is, fixed. Let's put the nav light back on it, whatever it is, okay? Or is it more expensive to have the accident? Is it more expensive to explain to the FAA, even if there is no incident, and they come out and they do a ramp check, and they look and say, how come you're flying with something? How come you're flying with a bad fuel gauge? Well, we know the plane's full, yeah, but it's required equipment, right? Mm-hmm. Which question will cost you more money when you make the bet? Now, again, go back to the moral. You know, that's just a marker. Go back to the moral part. Are we putting ourselves and our students at an undue risk by doing something silly with the airplane? That's really, and activities on the ramp. You notice when you and I first started flying together, I caught you walking across the ramp, texting on your cell phone. And I said, stop right there. You're not walking across the ramp, texting on a cell phone. Why, Bob? Because you're going to walk into a propeller that way. Your head's down, you're not looking. You know, it's, is it a low probability? Yes. Low probability that you'll walk into a propeller. Is it a high consequence or high? Yeah. Low probability, high consequence if something happens.
Yeah.
That to me is how safety works. Will everybody go home with everything attached? All the fingers and toes are attached.
10 fingers, 10 toes, right?
Yeah, 10 fingers, 10 toes. And I never want to explain anything to a family, ever. I don't care about I do care about getting sued. Okay, I'm not going to lie. But that's more, it goes beyond that. I don't want to have to look a mom, a dad, a wife, a husband, and say, well, we did our best. I never want to have that conversation because I like the guy I look at when I shave.
Yeah.
Real simple equation that way.
Yeah, I think definitely safety is something that we can't overlook. You know, it has to be the priority, and we have to always put in the forefront. You know, little things like that. You know, even like the cell phone example you said there earlier. I think we really need to hold our students, ourselves too, to higher standard.
Yeah.
to higher standard, right?
Yeah, and as instructors, we can't be hypocritical. If we don't want a student doing, don't do it yourself. You know, we're the pros as CFIs, instructors, as school owners. We're the pros from Dover. We're supposed to be setting the positive example.
Right.
And some
Speaking of
days,
setting a positive, I'll do a transition for you.
go ahead.
Speaking about setting a positive example, you're the chief pilot at your flight school. You help run the day-to-day operations. How do you, as the chief pilot, or maybe the manager of the flight school or owner of a flight school, how do you instill these values? How do you, I don't want to say guarantee, but how do you ensure the success of your CFIs with their students and help grow the business and by doing so?
Okay. One is we talk. You've hung out around our school. We give away more free around school than we ever should. That's okay. It's cheap. It's cheap money. Okay, because it's value add. For the price of a couple of cups of coffee and sitting around telling stories and talking about safety, we promote safety that way. That's one. Two, walk the talk. Be the example. Again, don't hesitate if you see something wrong. I have no fear when I'm out on the ramp and walking up to another instructor. Now, I don't do it in a harsh, nasty way or anything like that, but I'll say, hey guys, probably not a good idea. Let's not do this. Or if I see a student out there, say a student solo, and all the instructors know I do this. At random, I'll walk up and say, tell me why you're sumping the tanks. What's important? What are you looking for? Are you doing it just to say you see blue fuel, or is there something more to it than that? When you run the ailerons, lift them up and look underneath. What are you looking for? Oh, I see if they're working. Well, what does that mean? Okay, are there all the screws there? Are all the screws there? Are all the nuts there? Is the other one going the opposite direction? Little things like that. And again, it's not confrontation. You got to make sure it's not confrontational. That it's done in a friendly kind of way. So, and the overarch message is, you're going up in a machine that you're sitting 3,000 feet up in the air. Sorry about that. You're sitting 3,000 feet up in the air. You need to be able to depend on the machine. At the end of the day, when we put the airplanes away, I have a polite demand of all the instructors and students: tie them down. Don't walk away from an airplane untied. If you don't see the next runner standing there waiting to grab the keys from you, you're responsible for it. Tie it down. Clip the seat belts over the seat. Is it really the most important thing in the world to clip the seats over the seat, or the seat belts over the seat? No, but what it teaches is respect for the machine and teaches respect for the next person. Okay, that's really the message. They don't know it.
Yeah, but
that's the message, and it grows kind of a esprit within the organization, and it's helping. Your reputation gets out. People say, "Wow, these guys really want to try to do it right."
It's really, I think what you touched on is culture building. Really, it's talking about, you have your organization. You're growing your business. You're growing your flight school. And when you first start out, maybe when you were an independent CFI, or you're just running one plane by yourself, you kind of just how to do it. This is your baby. You kind of handle it, and this is this is my plane. This is my teaching style. This is how we're gonna do it. As we start hiring people and having them join the team, you're gonna get a mix of personalities within that team, right? And they all have different priorities. Obviously, yes, it's to make a living. It's to train pilots, but some of them have different motivations. Some of them, they love teaching and they want to be a career instructor. Other CFIs, they might have that 1,500 number in the back of their mind, like, hey, gotta get those hours up. And everyone has their motivations, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing at all.
But I think us as leaders, though, we have to be able to instill the right culture in our business and our organization. And I think that's the hardest part, I think, is really holding them accountable, making sure we're safe, making sure that, everyone knows what's expected of them, right? And I always tout the SOP stuff, get the SOPs written, get your procedures written, get all that stuff done. It's necessary, right?
But little things, I'll tell you, it's little things. Like I've redone all of our forms. Our forms here, I haven't changed one word on any of the forms because, well, I got to be careful with that. I've changed some of the stuff involving flight training, but the legal forms, such as the rental agreement or so on, those are drawn up by lawyers. I've not changed one word on those. I can't. Okay, but they were Xeroxes of Xeroxes. So a little thing, clean them up, reprint them, make new PDFs, put the logo on, make them look pretty. Is it really critical? No, the old form was a perfect legal document. The new form just looks nice and makes you look like you're sharp and you're paying attention. Sounds goofy, but a little thing like that speaks volumes to somebody who's walking in the door. Being willing to walk up, having mechanics here. Our mechanics are terrific. They are more than willing to explain things to our students. If a student's got a question, they have said, if you're not sure, we'd rather you come up to us and ask us than go out and wander out in doubt about the airplane or about why we did something, why this logbook entry is here or something like that. There, so having that kind of culture and being open about things. The hardest conversation to have with a student is airplane's broken today. Can't fly. Why not? Well, left strut needs to be rebuilt. Instead of saying, well, we've all seen it in this business where people say, well, this, that, the other thing, and they dance around, blah, 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 blah. Just say it. If you can't hide it, paint it red, for God's sake. And just say, look, today ain't going to work. Sorry, we'll reschedule. Mm-hmm. And just be upfront.
Yeah, I think what you're saying there is totally right. It's like you have to be willing to make the no-go decision, right? I think that's and you kind of brought up the revenue thing earlier too. Like there's a lot of pressures, right? So the CFIs have their own pressure. They want to fly. They want to get their hours. As a business owner, we want to get the revenue. We want to get those flight hours in. And yeah, there's a right way to do it, but at the same time, we have to put safety as number one. We have to be able to call. Yeah. We have to call
it's funny. It's funny. There's two things I want to say about what you just brought up. Number one, for those CFIs that are using CFI time to become airline or corporate pilots or getting to the 1,500 an hour, there's nothing wrong with that. You said that yourself. As long as you remember that while you're here, you're here. This is what you're doing. This is your job. You're passing on your knowledge. It's not pro forma. I got to run. I'm stuck in a 172 for the next 1,500 hours. That's not it. You are teaching another person everything you learned, and it is a great way, one, to learn to be a pilot in command of a crew because your student is your crew. Mm-hmm. And number two, if you do it right, it's the greatest ego trip in the world because you get to teach somebody else how to fly an airplane. You may as well enjoy it. That's two. As far as, I literally had this conversation with the owner here one day with plane. I said, I don't like something on the airplane. We're not going to fly it today. I can't remember what it was. It was trivial. And it was one of those things that if you kind of squinted at it, you could say, yeah, okay, fine. But you know what? Let's get it addressed and fixed. And he was like, gosh, we're going to lose a revenue flight. And I said, it's really simple. We're going to do ground school now. And this is the highest revenue item you've got because there's no expenses involved in ground school. I go upstairs and talk to the student and they pay me for my time. And we lost you.
Yeah, I think we lost Tim. What happened?
I'm back. What was the last intelligent thing I said? Tim, you're muted. Tim, are you there?
We're back online. Sorry about that. The Wi-Fi's been kind of crazy here.
Yeah, sorry about that. What was the last intelligent thing I said? I can't, or intelligible, or maybe not intelligent.
You said that you're having a conversation about a non-trivial piece on an aircraft, and that's kind of where it kind of caught off. And I think you're making the decision.
No, it's something that it was a no-go. It was something that we probably could have flown with. It was one of those, wiggle your head and kind of say, maybe,
The more you squint at it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, if you squint at it. And I just said, no, we're not going to go. And it was one of those, geez, we're going to lose revenue on this one. And I just remember saying, look, I'm going to do ground with this. I'm going to pivot and do ground with a student. And this is the highest revenue you can make. This is the highest profit revenue you'll make. Because there is no expense of flying the airplane. And you've already sunk the expense into the classroom and the hangar. So I'll just go upstairs and talk with a student. And other than my time, this is pure profit, man. This is easy. So You know, so for those of you that don't own the school, and you have to make that call, just point out that sometimes let's make lemonade out of lemons. And by the way, don't lose the opportunity with a student. If I have let's say let's go to something a little more benign. It's a bad weather day, and we're both at the airport. Okay, it's a bad weather day. What a perfect time to pull out. What a perfect time to say, let's go up and go through the logbooks, make sure you understand the logbooks. Or what FAR are you having trouble with? Or whatever, what concept? Let's reinforce. And again, be fair to the student. You know, they came out, you came out. In those situations, I might not charge, you know, if we're together for 2 hours, yeah, I might only charge an hour and a half because there's war stories in there. You know, I don't charge for war stories, but, you know, I don't charge for my little trivial stories, but, you know, be fair to the student, but fair is fair. They see that they're getting value out of it. They're happy to pay for it.
Definitely. I mean, there's been times that we've been grounded, and I definitely enjoyed talking with you, doing ground. Kind of, you know, you have to do ground no matter what. I think you have to be able to internalize the things you get, the teachings you have to do in the air. So I think ground's very. I appreciate the talks that we've had whenever we've been grounded, and it's helped build the foundation of, you know, me partnering with you, me flying with you together, and I think it really strengthens the bond between, you know, the student and the CFI. I do think that's good.
And I like that word bond. That's a great word. I'm stealing that.
Bonding time.
I have 2 brand new CFI candidates right now, and I got to I'm gonna steal exactly what you just said about you're making a bond with your student. I like that. Yeah. See, I learned something. You know, we learn something every day.
You gotta be open. You know, keep your brain open. That way you can pour the knowledge in, right?
Right.
I'm gonna make a small pivot here. We've been talking about kind of how to run the flight school, how to instill culture, making safety important. We talked a little bit about NAFI. Make a pivot now to kind of the future. So we talked about the past, we talked about the present. Let's talk about the future of the industry, the aviation industry. Not to get too political, you know, obviously there's a lot of things going on in the industry, especially in the news. Just kind of think the big elephant in the room is the big Boeing thing. I don't know if you want to call it a scandal. I don't want to call it news, conspiracy theories, whatever it is. But it is affecting public opinion on what we can agree on is at least it's affecting public opinion on the aviation industry as a whole.
Yeah.
So when we're in the flight training industry, what are your predictions? What do you think about where do you think that this is going to go?
Okay.
Let's just start with that.
Yeah. Let's start with this. And again, this is Bob Mater, not NAFI, not the flight school I'm associated with. These are my opinions only.
Right.
Boeing lost its way corporately a little bit. They forgot what they started worrying, like a lot of industries in the United States have done. They started worrying about the next quarter instead of the next 5 years. Okay. They will get back to where they were. They're too good a company, and their entire management team, other than what happened with some of the rushing on the 7-3, they will pivot back. They will take a hard look at what's going on. They're under a magnifying glass. They will take a very hard look at themselves and say, what made us succeed in the past? Why were we considered the greatest aviation company in the world? Let's get back to where we were. It's going to hurt. It's going to be painful for them. I've seen it happen in other companies. They'll come back. I'm not too worried about that. And the public will I don't forgive is too strong, but the public will trust them again. You know, once all the stupid jokes pass by, and people will soon realize that sometimes a flat tire on a 737 has nothing to do with Boeing building the airplane. It has to do with a flat tire because because an airplane ran over a piece of FOD on the ramp. And so we'll get past all this. And I say we, the industry will. Boeing will. How it affects flight training, I don't see it affecting flight training in the negative at all, because
you don't think it's going to affect flight training in the future. So you don't think the public perception of the aviation industry due to Boeing, whatever, is going to decrease the amount of, you know,
it'll go no, but it's going to be a small dip, because you got to remember, we have become an aviation culture. The world has become an aviation culture. Yes, I work for probably the largest railroad in the United States. And we are a very important part of the economy. We bought things from Amazon. I have to be careful. Union Pacific doesn't endorse any companies. We bought things overnight from companies. I'll say it that way. Because, small items. We move big, the railroads move big, heavy stuff around and move, entire container ship loads stuff across the country.
Yeah.
I buy stuff from Amazon Prime overnight. I needed a new power adapter for one of my DSLRs so I could use it for webinars. I'm doing this on my iPad right now, but so at home I could use a DSLR. Well, the old one had a bad cable, so I need one tomorrow. Fine, good. $25, it shows up. All right. The point is that only works because aviation's in the picture. One of the largest airlines in the country is Amazon's network now. All right. We've become an aviation culture. In the United States, we travel by air. We go from, let's go to Vegas tomorrow. Okay, we hop on a particular, pick your favorite airline that then moves hub to Vegas. People, the major selling point for credit cards is points, airline points for whatever airline. So that's not going to go away, and the demand is going to grow. Boeing has predicted that in their studies. Everybody's predicted it, and it will just continue to grow. Passenger travel and so on. If you have that much flying, you're going to need that many pilots. That many pilots are going to have to be trained. Personal aviation. Hell, I own my own airplane. Personal aviation, I don't think that's going to go away. People like having their own airplane. Is it going to be something relative to the greater economy of the United States? Is it a niche market? Yeah, it's a niche market. There's only 600,000 pilots in the country, and that many fewer, to work it down. I don't know how many airplanes are private airplanes or private hands in the registry, but there are, it's not that many, relatively speaking. But the thing is that there will be people who either rent or fly their own airplane because they like to. I'm sitting here 3 weeks away, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks away from Sun and Fun, and I'm sitting here. And am I going to fly commercial? Or am I going to fly my own airplane down? I'm 80% sure I'm going to fly my own airplane down because I want to. Okay, so that's not going to go away. So I see it growing. Yes, the public has a negative perception right now of a particular company's problems. But I'm still watching here. I'm literally 3 miles from the middle of where I sit right now. Literally 4.5 miles from the center of Lambert International, and I'm seeing airliners taking off left and right all day long. So it's not going away.
Yeah, it's not going away. I do think, just my opinion on it, I mean, I do think that it is going to dip. I don't know how small. I mean, we're already kind of seeing it. Pilot hiring freezes at various airlines. We're kind of seeing it slow down. It's been touted as like the golden age before, as pilot shortage is going to be a big demand. A lot of salary increases were in the past. I do think that whole engine, that whole kind of thing, is definitely slowing down right now.
But it is.
But like you said,
it's a cyclical business, though. We all know that.
It is. Yeah, it's going to go back up. I also believe it's going to go back up, but I don't know how long this kind of dip is going to go. We don't know how low it's going to go. And I really think it kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier about, how we run our businesses, how we make sure that we in order to stay relevant while we experience the dip. We have to make it through the dip in order to get to above the hump, right? It's really about instilling the best practices in your flight school. It's really about establishing the best procedures, the culture, the team building that you guys have there. We're at 3/4 of an hour here on the 45-minute mark. I'm going to ask one question, I guess, and then after that, I'm going to open up the floor to any of our registries. If they want to, ask Bob Meter a question, just, go ahead and, unmute yourself. Maybe hopefully put your camera on that we can see you. Do a small intro, then ask away. Then after the questions, we'll kind of end this webinar. But my last question is, if you want to give one last tip to any flight schools owners out there, any flight school management team members out there, what would that tip be? Very open-ended. Here's a softball.
Wow. Wow. Be willing to lose a little money in the short term to make money in the long term. By that, don't skimp on maintenance. Don't skimp on your facilities. Don't skimp on providing a quality product for your customers. There may be days, excuse me, there may be days where you're going, we can't afford to run the Keurig, let alone buy gas. But in the long run, it'll pay off. Take care. I guess what I'm saying is take care of your customers. People want to, your customers want to feel valued. They're not a commodity.
Yeah.
They're people. They want to feel like they're important. So be willing to do the right thing. And occasionally it's going to cost you $1 or $2 more than you want to, but that's okay. It'll come back. I guarantee you take care of your people. And by people, I'm talking about your customers and your employees. It will come back, and it'll come back in a very positive way.
And don't skip on your marketing too.
Yeah, don't, yeah. And yeah, give Tim money. Anyway. Yeah.
It's
Anyway.
okay. All right. We're gonna open up the floor here. We're at the last kind of 15 minutes here. Does anyone have any questions for Bob Meter or myself? And we want to keep it a round table town hall discussion. Anyone out there want to ask away? Radio silence, Bob. Be scared.
Can I
don't
just
know.
say
Maybe-
thank
maybe.
you?
There you
Say
go.
again, I'm sorry. Go
Hey,
ahead.
Georgette.
Hey, I would just like to say thank you. I'm not an aviator, but I'm the wife of an owner of flight school, and I'm learning this all firsthand. And this was so informative. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Where are you located?
We're at North Perry Airport.
Where's North Perry? I know the name, and I
It's
can't.
Hello.
It's in South Florida.
Oh, okay. That's why I know it. Yeah, I passed it on the way to Sun and Fun. That's why.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep, that's where we are. So we've been open about 14 months now.
Yeah, good for you.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
for
you.
you.
Tim is our marketing.
And how do
you.
you survive the hot, humid teaching in the hot, humid summers of Florida?
It's so hard. I don't even know how they do it. But we don't have there's nowhere on the field where there's no cafe, there's nothing there. So what we do is an extra perk. We supply all the drinks and spritzers and different things for our staff and students. So
There it is, right there. A little value added thing. You know how valuable that would be to me as an instructor or a client. Wow, there's a Coke in the fridge for me. My owner knows I'm hooked on Coke Zero. Okay, not plugging a product, but I'm a Coke Zero addict, and he knows it, and he keeps a 12-pack of Coke Zero in the fridge for me in the summer.
That is awesome. That's awesome.
Because he knows when I'm done flight instructing, it's on a hot day, I'm parched and my throat is dry. I'll hammer down a can of that stuff in 2 swallows.
And it's just right there. That's nice. That's what
Yeah.
we were hoping for, people to feel the way that you do as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, I'm
It's
sorry.
always about taking care of your customers. Thanks, Georgette. Yeah, she's all the way in South Florida. We love working with Georgia and her team over there. Great group of people. Anyone else have a question? Anyone raise their hand? Give it a little bit of a minute there. If no one kind of pops in, we'll kind of end here.
We've either dazzled them to death or intimidated them, or I don't know what.
We're gonna call every single one of you guys after this call and be like, hey, what do you guys think?
I will, you asked for one tip. I will give another tip, and then Georgette touched on it. Open door. Let people wander in and steal the coffee.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah. Be the friendly school. Let people wander in, sit down and talk. If we're sitting around and a bunch of us pilots are sitting around telling our little stories or safety stories or there I was and all that other, never encourage people to do something stupid. But if we're there and it's a Saturday afternoon and somebody wanders in and they just want to talk to us, clock doesn't have to run on that conversation. We're there anyway, wasting our time. We may as well make it useful wasted time. And And it's it's kind of a Zen statement, but again, be open. That's part of the marketing. It's think about your favorite auto dealership. The one I go to has hot chocolate available in the winter.
I don't know about favorite and auto dealership are in the same sentence together.
Well, this particular one I do like, and
You do like, okay.
because they again, it's come on in, talk to us, and yeah, maybe we'll sell you a car while you're, or maybe we won't. But come on in and talk to us, while you're getting your oil change. It's again, this is a service business. One thing everybody in this business has to understand: I cannot sell a bucket of flight training to anybody. I can't. There is no commodity called flight training. This is a service business. It is did I take care of the client today and make them feel like they've gotten, I don't know, they're $200 and some worth for the hour that they flew. And by the way, one more thing: when you're teaching new CFIs on their flying, one of the first things I tell them, your client is paying $2.50 per minute for this privilege. Maybe more, maybe $3 a minute. Don't waste their time. More importantly, we only get so many heartbeats on this planet. Don't waste their time. Make it a value-added lesson all the way through. Yeah. Which is why you got an earful of stuff all the time in the airplane. Anyway.
Yeah. That's good. I mean, it's challenging. You saturate me sometimes when you're in IFR training. You're giving me a lot of stuff there. But it's value added, and it makes me a safer pilot. I think training with you made me a safer pilot.
Well, thank you. That's
I like having. Yeah, I mean, I'm from Dave Downey. I've trained with many other CFIs, and I think everyone has a unique perspective on flying, and I think it's something that I encourage any pilot. I know a lot of us are more senior, and we've been flying for a while, but flying with other people, that having that crew resource management, talking with other ones, getting different perspectives on flying and life in general too, is opens our eyes and is able to make us better as human beings, more safer and all that. So I don't know if anyone else has anything. I'm going to go ahead and shut it down. I really appreciate Bob hopping on the call. I really appreciate all the other flight school owners, all the other flight school management team members, aviation leaders here. We do this every month. We do this every try to shoot for the third Thursday of each month. I think last month we were at the FASADA conference in Vegas. If you have any ideas or you want to be on the show, give me a call, give me a ring, and we'll get you on here. So without further ado, appreciate it, Bob. Any last words?
Be safe, enjoy flying. Thunderstorm season is coming. Be careful and enjoy flying. I've got to go out and do a test flight on an autopilot here in a minute. And so have a great day.
Yeah. Have a great day. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it, man. I'll see you soon. We're gonna go fly.
Yeah, we got to work on your commercial now. Let's go. All right.
Let's go. All right. See you guys later. Bye.
See ya.